Right, so Israeli military secrets being leaked, including preparations to attack Iran, have got Israel in complete disarray. You can just imagine Benjamin Netanyahu tearing his comb-over out over this one. But is this just the latest example, the latest story surrounding dissent in the IDF? An example of deliberate sabotage from within in protest at Israeli ongoing genocidal actions with no end in sight and no prioritisation of hostages being rescued from Gaza? Or is it something else? Incompetence on the part of Air Force officers, perhaps, or the ongoing use of a system that is not fit for purpose. Israel have launched an investigation into how such information made its way out in the way it did. But the biggest story here, arguably, is that these plans still existed in the first place. Most notably, that preparation to attack Iran, still present in official military hands, on military systems. Still, it would appear to be part of ongoing operations, very much still moving forwards. How else are we meant to take this? Why else would they be on official military systems? While this news doubtless comes as little surprise to Iran, denials of such plans just a few days ago have shown up Israel royally, again reinforcing the notion these are not people who can be trusted or negotiated with in good faith. So seeing them humbled and embarrassed by this as they have been, well, they've only got themselves to blame, haven't they? Right, so this is an absolute karmic belter of a story, I think. Israel's attack preparations against Iran, amongst other things, have been leaked. And the source of the leak being from within the Israeli military itself at that. So the first question I was asking myself, given the coverage I've given to dissent within the ranks of the IDF recently, was whether or not this was an escalation in that. Another story along those lines. State military secrets coming out on purpose to show up this genocidal government of Benjamin Netanyahu and demanding the hostages held in Gaza and rescuing them be put first. But actually it might not be as simple and straightforward as all of that. You see, the incident has raised pressing questions not only about the integrity of the Israeli military amidst growing internal dissent, but also about operational security in Israel as well, possibly connected with that, but not necessarily so, and the broader implications for regional stability beyond Israel as well as a consequence. What has been particularly notable regarding the leak, though, is that the leak appears to have originated from the Click Portal system, which is an Israeli military file management system, basically, part of the cloud infrastructure provided to the Israeli military by Microsoft. However, the Microsoft software in question is open market, and the system is actually accessible to anyone within the Israeli military, including discharged soldiers who no longer serve. Well, that's bound to work out well, isn't it? That's properly secure. But again, this detail doesn't get us any further down the road of answering the question as to whether this leak came about as a result of potential internal dissent or just a plain and straightforward lapse in operational competence, which, on the face of it, it could quite easily be. Either way, though, Israel look like absolute muppets over this, and few people, I imagine, outside of the most rabidly Zionist corners will feel bad for them one iota over it. The Click Portal system itself had already previously been flagged for security vulnerabilities, raising concerns about its continued use despite known risks, so operational competence comes into question. But whether the leak was a deliberate act of sabotage or the result of systemic negligence, well, that will remain under investigation, and we'll just have to see what answers come out of that, if we can even believe what comes out of any sort of Israeli investigation. However, the implications are still pretty clear. The IDF's internal cohesion and operational security are clearly in a right state. If all manner of IDF operatives, both past and present, can access this, what on earth were classified documents ever doing on it? Who uploaded them, therefore? And more importantly, why did they do that? Sabotage or stupidity? And would you believe it? This actually gets even worse. Here's an excerpt from the New Arab, really nailing how bad this is for Israel. As well as uploading classified files onto the system, some were scanned using CamScanner, a Chinese-owned app that has been blocked by India on national security grounds and had previously been taken down on the Google Play Store for housing malicious code that could allow infiltration onto devices. These files include duty rosters and training schedules, as well as 2 classified presentations on how to deal with enemy weaponry and material on how to operate classified weaponry. The squadron uploaded the files onto their specifically designated website on Click Portal, which is one of 2 squadron websites that are unclassified and available to be accessed by users. Each squadron has a website within the portal which is available through the internet, although not to external users, with the service intended to only allow the upload of unclassified files. Although other Air Force squadrons utilize the system to upload and manage weekly updates, they are not accessible to all users of the platform. So they were actually uploading classified, not unclassified documents to a compromised cloud management system using Chinese software to scan some of them, designed to scan and upload official documents as that software is, that itself was already regarded as compromised to the point Google's Play Store had removed it. So how much of all of this has China learned then, and how many Israeli devices might be compromised by Chinese malicious code, as it was put there? China, who are on quite good terms with Iran as things go. Just beggars belief as to how incompetent they've been. Notably, as mentioned there, though, despite Click Portal being open to all in the military, the parts where the leaks from trace back to Squadron 69, who are an elite unit of the Israeli Air Force. They were, as a for instance, behind the airstrikes that were behind the assassination of Hezbollah leader Nasser Nasrallah last year. So if they begun dissent too, if that is what is behind this, they were committing significant acts of attrition in another country not so long ago. Not exactly the actions of a dissenting force then. But if it's one of incompetence, then the elite designation the unit has might say a lot for Israeli military competence as a whole. Making all of this worse, of course, though, is that Israeli officials were issuing firm denials regarding any imminent plans to attack Iran, and notably those Iranian nuclear facilities, as is Israel's predominant issue with Israel at this time, especially amid the ongoing indirect US-Iranian talks over that being mediated by Amman. Gideon Saar, the Israeli foreign minister, dismissed the notion of attacks on Iran whilst he was here in the UK this week, a not-so-secret as that turned out to be, not least because he gave an interview to The Telegraph whilst he was here, denying any plans to attack Iran at all. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar denied recent reports that Tel Aviv has been planning a military attack against the Iranian nuclear program in an interview with The Telegraph published on the 19th of April. I am a member of the Security Cabinet and all the intimate forums, and I don't remember such a decision. I don't think that such a decision was taken. But Israel is committed to the objective of preventing Iran from having nuclear weapons. If that objective can be achieved by a diplomatic path, it is accepted, Saar said. Whoops! That interview with the Telegraph took place on the 19th of April. These plans leaked on the 24th. The leaked documents contradict everything he just said, all of his assertions, by the mere fact that they exist, let alone what they contain. But then this is par for the course for politicians, generally far too often, not necessarily unique to Israel, but more often than not they are, but hardly surprising it's them nonetheless. This world of difference between Israeli public statements and internal military planning raises questions about the true motivations behind Israel's posture towards Iran. While the official narrative centers on concerns over Iran's nuclear enrichment activities, no basis in fact, as we know them to have. US reports, UN reports into Iran or Iranian nuclear research have borne this out. We know it all comes down to the need to sow discord where it comes to the narrative of Iran being a global threat, Netanyahu's desperation and desire for the US to go to war with Iran, all being done by Israel for no other reason than to keep Benjamin Netanyahu's genocidal gluteus maximus glued to the seat of power. The United States, traditionally a close ally of Israel, has exhibited a more cautious approach lately towards Iran as those nuclear talks continue to progress. Donald Trump, for all of his faults, not even he would back or assent to a strike as requested by Israel, however limited that might be on Iran. A joint US-Israeli attack on Iran that was being pushed for by Tel Aviv, opting instead for these indirect negotiations to continue that are being mediated by and conducted in Oman. However, the US negotiating position has faced criticism for contradicting itself as well, as progress apparently still gets made. For example, sanctions being levied on liquid petroleum gas exports from Iran on the same day the US and Iran agreed a framework for further talks. The latest example of idiocy has come from Trump's Secretary of State Marco Rubio, having said that Iran should rely solely on imported uranium for its civilian nuclear program rather than enriching its own. This has been swiftly rejected by Tehran, which insists on its right to enrich uranium domestically under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which it is of course signed up to, and notably Israel, allegedly in possession of its own nuclear arsenal, is very much not. Besides, anything imported or exported from Iran, as the US has repeatedly proven, could end up subject to sanctions. So Iranian self-sufficiency is driving its desire for nuclear research, both in terms of energy and in other fields, notably nuclear medicine, where they've had several recent successes with regards to the fight against cancer. But beyond the immediate security breach Israel has ended up in a mess over, the IDF is grappling with broader issues of morale and cohesion, and it's part of why there is no clear reason, no obvious reason, as yet that we can point to for how this leak came about, how this leak has happened. Tens of thousands of reservists have refused to report for duty, citing disillusionment with the government's policies and the military direction, the failure to put the hostages first, so often now being openly dismissed as a primary concern by the likes of Bezalel Smotrich, whose settler base dictates settlement being his primary concern, and the forcible displacement of the entire Gazan population for Israeli occupation afterwards. Recruitment challenges are also compounding the problem, leaving the IDF overstretched across multiple fronts, including operations in Palestine, Lebanon and Syria. If dissent is the reasoning behind the leak, the fact that the leak originated from within Squadron 69 suggests that dissent may be permeating even the most elite segments of the military and amongst officers now as well. If it's incompetence, well, we're all having a laugh at Israel's expense right now, aren't we? The leak's exposure not only compromises specific operational details, but also signals to adversaries that internal divisions may be something they could exploit. The incident also raises concerns about the robustness of Israel's cyber and information security protocols, especially given the prior identification of vulnerabilities in systems like the Click portal and the Chinese cam scanner. Whatever ends up being the answer to Israel's mess here, it's a god almighty screw-up. Few are going to feel sorry for them for their blatant disingenuousness. Caught out again, seeking to destabilise others just to benefit themselves. It's not just where Iran is concerned that Israel want disarmament, though, of course. In their case, there is nothing to disarm. They aren't developing nuclear weapons. But elsewhere, they are also managing to undermine themselves whilst making demands of others to disarm. And this story now takes us to Lebanon, where despite making demands of the new Lebanese President Joseph Aoun to disarm Hezbollah and do so by force if necessary, he made the quite relevant point, aside from that risking causing civil war there, that with Israel insisting on occupying 5 southern Lebanese states indefinitely, they are very much making Hezbollah's case to not disarm for them. Ball is in Israel's court, is how it has been put to them. If you want Hezbollah disarmed, get out of Lebanon first. Get all the details of that standoff in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as supporting the channel at the very same time, which is very much appreciated. Holding power to account for ordinary working class people. I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers folks.